So I'm so excited to be here today with a longtime student of mine, Shirley Larkan. She has been a graduate of several of our Flourish and Thrive Academy courses, and she just graduated from my Art of Reinvention program, and she upgraded into Aligned and Amplified. And I'm just so excited to have you here to talk a little bit more about your transformation with your amazing jewelry business. So thanks for being here today.
Thanks, Tracy. Lovely to be here with you.
I'm so excited to share your journey with everyone. Before we dive in, and excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your journey in jewelry design to where you are today.
Oh, it's been many moons. I always kind of knew that I wanted to do something creative. So I was sort of playing with the idea of fine art or sculpture and jewelry, but I just thought, jewelry is something that you can actually make a decent living from. And I had a friend who was studying jewelry at the time, and I went and I experienced smelting metal. And once I saw that, I was hooked. I mean, it was like alchemy. It was all the witchy things that I needed in my
All the
life.
fun things you love doing.
Yeah, when you see that molten metal at the bottom of the crucible, I'm sure you know from making jewelry, it's just there's something that happens internally. It's primeval.
It really is. It's such a fun process. But you have a history and a background in sales, and you did a bunch of different things in the jewelry industry before you ended up starting your own line, didn't you?
Yeah, it's so interesting how things unfold. We don't always see it at the time, but looking back, you can see how working for that company who happens to be the leading jewelry brand in South Africa in commercial jewelry. They have about 70 stores, some now in the UK as well. And it was tough, but I discovered that I actually had a knack for business. I didn't work for them as a goldsmith. I worked for them as a store manager.
Hmm.
And they used to send me around to stores that were underperforming with the mandate to turn them around. So I discovered that I had this other side to myself I would never have found if I hadn't gone into that.
That's amazing. And how do you feel like that's helped you in your business today?
I discovered that I have a knack for dealing with people and an abundance mentality. So I didn't assume that anybody walking in couldn't afford anything. I just showed them the most beautiful, the most extreme pieces, and they would direct me if they wanted something else. But I got to work with really high value pieces, beautiful big diamonds, things I would never have had the opportunity to work with otherwise. But also I learned how to run a store and to run a business because we would manage our stores as our basically as our own business. So I learned invaluable skills there, and it toughened me.
I like that. How so?
Oh, it was by rod and fire, let me tell you. The owners of the company were tough to work for. I
Okay.
mean, I'm forever grateful to them, and I'm very, very fond of them, but very tough,
Mm,
very tough. No, it was good. It forced me to grow up a bit.
I love that. Well, you came to me a few months ago and you sent me a DM on Instagram and you were like, Tracy, I have been hearing you talk about this Art of Reinvention program for the last couple of months, and I don't really know exactly what it is, but I am so drawn to it because I'm in the process of a big transformation myself. So, do you want to talk a
Mhm.
little bit about what has been going on for you and your business over the last couple of months?
So I think it's more what's been going on for me internally, which has extended to my business and to all areas of my life, really. It started consciously, I think, towards the end of last year, just before Christmas, where I really felt a shift internally. And I think a lot of it had to do with self-worth,
Mm.
and I don't know, maybe it's being in the FU 50s, as my friend calls it. But when you just kind of think, well, it's time now, and it's now or never. And if I want to make big changes in my life, best I get on with it. Because I had worked with you before, all I knew was that I wanted to work with you. And then I sort of started seeing you talk about the art of reinvention, because obviously I get your mails and follow you on Instagram and whatever. And I think I reached out to you saying, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I just want to work with you. What can we do? And Shane, you was so, I could just imagine you going, oh my God,
No.
but but you were so sweet. And anyway, we figured out how to how to get me into the program. And it really was the most amazing program to be part of. I made the decision when I joined because it was a significant investment for me. And because I was kind of at this junction in my life that counter to my natural inclinations, I'm very much a hermit, very much an introvert. I just thought I'm going to put myself up for everything. Whatever hot seats are available, I'm going to be like the first person up there. I'm going to make the most of this opportunity. And a lot of those things were very uncomfortable for me, but I had the most incredible internal experiences, and I think I was saying to you recently that I feel like I've almost been rewired, not to be too overdramatic, but that's how it feels. And I can see it. I mean, I'm breaking habits of 53 years. So, it's taking a bit of time in some things, but I'm seeing it roll out into my business, into my life in general. And I will be forever grateful to you for that.
So let's talk about the rewiring. What kind of transformation have you been going through? What are some of the shifts that you've been experiencing
So
on this journey?
from the first week, it was confronting for me. and and I mean really confronting. And I think I'm sure everybody's experience was different in the cohort, but for me, really, I kept coming up against myself. And I keep hearing this phrase in my head that, like you were asking us recently if we had to say anything to somebody who was on the fence about doing the program, would we say? And I just keep hearing this loud thought that says, that we are all entitled to live these incredible, vast, beautiful, vibrant lives full of great experiences and grand adventures, but only we can make it happen. And also only we can prevent it from happening.
Oh, wow. Only we can prevent it from happening.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
So
because you're getting in your own way.
totally. Yeah.
So
And
what
I
did that
think
look
that I
like for you? What did getting in your own way look like for you?
think it had become such a habit that it was so much more comfortable to sort of disappear and not put myself out there. Really my business had come to a head, I guess, towards the end of last year. I was attracting the wrong clients. It wasn't joyous anymore, I know that that happens with work, but it, yeah, it
It felt
really
heavy. Did it feel heavy and like a
it felt
burden?
very heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do think that, you and I have been through some similar experiences, losing our businesses, that kind
Mhm.
of thing. It takes a toll, but I think that I had kind of allowed myself to sort of hide behind that fear and almost gave myself permission to not succeed.
Ooh, tell me about that.
Well, I'm not quite sure how to articulate these things, but it's almost as though I think a lot of it had to do with self-worth and deserving. And I've been doing a lot of work on that. But I had to wonder, to myself if I hadn't almost been creating certain situations so that I could almost abdicate responsibility,
Mm.
you
Like
know,
creating, if I'm understanding correctly, like creating situations where it would put you in a bad spot so that you could blame
and
something or someone else for something not going wrong in your business so you wouldn't have to take responsibility for your own success.
and not consciously, of course.
Right.
I mean, there comes a point where you have to take responsibility for that, and as
Right.
soon as you realize those things, you've got to then step up and say, okay, well, do I want to carry on in this vein, or do I actually want to do better, be better, have a better life?
Right. Wow, that's really, I'm saying the word powerful for lack of a better word, because the acknowledgement of that, just the acknowledgement of that you are taking full responsibility for everything, for all of your outcomes,
Mm.
shifts everything.
No, I'm saying it's life changing.
It
I'm
is.
looking at things through the prism of a different awareness, almost a different wiring. My whole way that I see the world. We see the world, we experience the world not as it is, but as we are. And it's almost as though I don't know, it's just my whole experience of the world is different,
How
and
do you see it
it's
now? How do you see it now versus how you saw it then?
full of potential
Right.
and excitement, and I mean, I've had some quite extraordinary movement in my business as well. I mean, I am changing things quite dramatically, but I've also just had the most wonderful, surprising things happen, and opportunities present themselves.
Well, let's talk about
Um,
those. That's the best part. We
I
like
was
to hear about
very
opportunity, right?
juicy. Yeah, so I have had lodges come to me wanting stock. So I've been, and that's
So
not
to be clear, Shirley lives in South Africa, so she's talking about
game
guessing
lodges,
gaming
safari
lodges.
lodges.
Yeah, safari
Yeah.
lodges. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So I've been making a whole range for them. We have such rich traditions here with our Zulu people and Xhosa people, and so I've made a whole range of jewelry with diamonds and tanzanites, with bushveld scenes, and with traditional sayings. And so those are going really well. I've just had another company come to me that I met with last week that I think is going to be really good, and they've asked me to quote them to go and train their sales staff.
Wow.
Thank you, my previous employers, for giving me those skills. So I'll get to go up to Vic Falls for a week and, and train their staff. So that's going to be really, it just feels like, I don't know, a weight has been thrown off.
Right. So the opportunities are coming in. You've done some significant, I'm going to call it like rebranding or repositioning your offers as well. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. And I've also done some significant restructuring. Like I used to make the jewelry as well as go out and get the business. And, through working with you, I've decided to actually farm out the manufacturing of the pieces to workshops where that is their speciality. And so I go out, I enjoy the dealing with the clients, actually going and getting the business. That's really where my talents lie.
And that's what you said.
And
This is our second time having this conversation because the
yeah,
first one we did not fully record. But let's talk a little bit about that because I know
yeah,
obviously the Flourish and Thrive audience that's listening to this, the people who have a physical product or jewelry versus
mm,
people who are listening to this who have a creative business, their idea behind, growing a business might be a little bit different. And I know there comes a point in any person who has a jewelry lines business that they have to make a decision if they really want to grow and scale because there's only so much that you can make with your two hands. There are
yeah,
things that you need to potentially hire out. And that's
yeah,
that's been my stance for a very long time. And this does not mean that people can't continue to make jewelry if they desire to do that. But it's just about
yeah.
thinking strategically about what to outsource. And so you were
Mm,
getting a lot of different jobs that didn't necessarily require you to do it because it's not necessarily design work. It's more like
yeah.
different types of work. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and the decision process in hiring that work out and really stepping into your upgrade? And what I mean by that is when we're stepping into what I like to call our role as the chief visionary officer of our business, we have to make decisions that actually upgrade the work that we're doing. And there's no way that we can always do it all, right? And
Yeah.
so determining the parts of our business, I think what happened is that you went through the part of the program where we had to do an evaluation of like, what do you love about what you're doing and what do you dislike? Am I correct in saying that?
More of what you love. Yes.
Yes. To get to a place
Yeah.
of more of what you love. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. And it's hard to let go of that control sometimes. But I mean, as I say, these workshops are reputable. They're big brands in themselves. That is their specific function in the industry, you know.
Is to create
Um,
jewelry for other people.
yes.
Hmm.
And they have highly skilled. I mean, I am absolutely hysterical about quality. It's got to be beautiful. It's got to be absolutely exquisitely made. But they've got very experienced jewelers who have been in the industry for a very long time, very well experienced who and knowledgeable who are making the stuff and working on the pieces. So, and obviously I will go in and check in and all of that. So I do have control over the quality. but it's just freed me up. It's just, it was such a transformation for me because I just realized that I had been completely me. I had been preventing growth in my business. I
Right.
wasn't charging enough, you know, I was attracting the wrong kind of client that would want further discounts. So I didn't have the margin to outsource. And I just made a decision. It was a couple of weeks in when we did that module in Art of Reinvention. And I just made a decision that the next quotes that I had to do for clients, I would quote via that workshop. I would approach it with the client as adding value, not really talk about price, talk about the piece, talk about the significance of the piece, the components of the piece. You're using the noble metals, 18 karat gold, beautiful natural diamonds and colored gemstones. And they didn't blink. And I sort of walked away a bit confounded and I thought, oh, okay, so this can happen. And I just made a decision from then on that the universe must work with me and send me the right clients. And some people have not wanted to go with me, and that's fine. Then they must find another jeweler who will meet them where they are.
And it's
But
brought in
the
some
most
really
part,
incredible clients for you, hasn't it?
yeah, it has absolutely, and it's been a really rich experience for me. I've completely fallen in love with the process of making jewelry again. I'm so excited to go out and meet with my clients and design the pieces with them, go through the process. I enjoy, sort of going and following up and seeing the process of the piece being made. And yeah, it's completely revitalized my business.
Wow, that's so amazing. And I know from personal experience, like when you're not excited about what you're doing anymore, and sometimes it just sneaks up on you. You're
Mm.
in there, you're doing this thing, you've been doing the same thing over and over again. And I really have this belief that women, especially women who are like approaching 40, we're on in the second half of our life now, right?
Yeah.
40
Yeah.
plus, and both of us are in our 50s. And there comes a time when we're starting to confront and face the fact that we're in like the third quarter, right? We're moving forward. It's
Yeah.
and no one really regrets at the end of their life, taking a chance on a dream that they have or getting into alignment with something and having joy and fun again with their business. But what they do regret is not doing that thing. And I know that there is a huge segment of people out there who keep doing something that's not lighting them up in the way that they've always done it because they just haven't been able to get out of their own way to step
Yeah.
back and rethink what they're doing or
Yeah.
reimagine it or get back
Yeah.
into alignment with what they really feel excited about. And so they continue down this road. And what ends up happening, and I don't know if this happened for you too, is when you're in that stage, things just keep getting harder. And you're like, maybe I'm not cut out for this.
Yeah. Well, you're attracting more of the same, more of what's not feeding you. It's just this ever perpetuating cycle.
Right.
And it really helped to be in the program because, I have to think that if I was going through all of this and I had just been on my own in my own head, honestly, at times it just felt like I was wading through molasses, and I'm a work in progress. I'm still transforming. But the fact that I had the calls to come to every week, that I had my accountability pod, and I mean, such a great group of people, just really, I mean, such a diverse, interesting group of people, all very different and going through different things, but absolutely resolute in our desire to lead a more fulfilled life. But it really helped to have the homework. It really helped to have the calls with you every week. And then I have to say that if anybody is thinking of doing Art of Reinvention, they must jump because much as I loved the Flourish and Thrive courses and they were transformational in their own way, the fact that we got to work with you so closely was a real gift. And I'm sure that this is going to blow up and that in time you'll have to bring people in. So I cannot stress enough that if anybody is on the fence
Get in
about this,
early.
jump.
Get in early to get my real brain on your business, which is great. I want
No.
to just ask you just a little bit of a curveball question because I
Yeah.
think, I just came from an event called Powerhouse Women, and one of the things that we were talking about is upgrading your identity. And part of stepping into your upgrade in business and life, part of that is unbecoming who you've been. What have you had to unbecome to step into this new version of you?
A lot. Where to start? Sorry, my schnauzer's playing with her ball in the
We can't
background.
hear.
Okay.
It's all good.
I've had to really talk to myself and think, what is it that I want? And I've always had this in the background, sort of, I've always assumed that I am going to lead this extraordinary life and that abundance is kind of my birthright. But that doesn't happen by itself, for very few people. We've got to kind of make it happen. And I think that if I'm really honest with myself, I think that I've kind of been winging it a lot of my business and a lot of my adult life. And I've had to really knuckle down and focus. And that's what Art of Reinvention really helped me to do is, I'd been going through this internal transformation, and it really helped me to crystallize what it is that I want to offer. And that has come, there are various prongs to that. I mean, there's the airport store, which hopefully will happen, but that's going to be a long-term project. And
Well,
and then
let's talk. I'm going to slow you down here because I do want to talk about the transformation. So you went in, you started at the beginning of the year in this transformational stage of being, you call it manufacturing jewelry, but custom jewelry work, and it's in fine jewelry. You live in South Africa. You are taking in some type of repair work, but then also your own designs, or having people come to you, just telling them what you wanted. And you had this real passion and while you were designing pieces in your own aesthetic and all of that, you had this passion to really launch a specific offer. And it had been calling on your heart for a long time. And this definitely relates to the lodges that you've been designing for, because you're creating these very specific, unique pieces with meaning, right, for the
yeah,
lodges that have meanings that are connected to, the local culture, the indigenous culture, and all of that. But there was a deeper meaning with these new pieces that you wanted to create. So why don't we step back a little bit so we give people context on what that looks
okay.
like? Because when you came to me on our first call, you were talking, I have this big vision to partner with someone and be able to open stores in the airports with these types of collections. So why don't we move back to the collections, then we can talk a little bit about the airport stores. Yeah.
So I think that I'm hardwired that way. And I think most of us are, in truth, that I've always had this love for arcane symbology and anything with meaning and symbology, and we all are such ancient beings, recognition for these symbols is kind of built into the very fabric of our beings. And I think the world is it's a very beautiful place. There's so much beauty in the world, but it's also a difficult place to be in at the moment. There's a lot of agency being given to people's lower natures,
Yes.
and that is a bit scary. And I just think it's helpful to have something physical to hold on to as a reminder of what is guiding and protecting us, of what we've been through, what we've come through, of our own resilience and our own internal power. And anything that is a moment that we want to mark, a loved one that we want to remember, all of those deeply symbolic and meaningful junctions in our lives. So those are the kinds of pieces that I'm really enjoying making at the moment. And
The
what I
moments,
do,
the pivots, all of the things.
yeah, absolutely. And it can be done either in person or over Zoom. And it's actually a multi-part, quite intense journey where I take the client through initially a grounding experience where we figure out what we're marking, what with this piece, is it a transition, who we are becoming as well. Then we choose symbols from a deck that I've prepared, and there's a specific way that we do that. And we do several guided meditations, and we choose the metals, the gemstones. We use legacy pieces that we incorporate into it if that's required, if you're wanting to honor somebody.
I love it so much.
Obviously, when I think of you, so I designed two different front pieces that you still need to let me know which one you want as the front. The hummingbird,
So
either
hard to
with the
decide. I
beak
I think I
or
want the
holding
one with the feet.
in the top one.
Yes.
Yeah, I also like that one. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on here. So the hummingbird obviously is associated with you. I mean, there it is behind you. Um, and they messengers, symbols of joy, love, grace, resilience, perseverance. They also, I was really touched by your experience of your mom passing away when you were very young. And hummingbirds are supposedly they symbolize messages of love from loved ones who have passed. So I know you carry your mom with you every day, but this is just a physical, tangible reminder of that. The snake eating its tail, the Ouroboros, is an alchemical symbol. It's about unity, infinity of all things, us shedding the old and ever evolving forward. The star is one of my favorite symbols because it's all about guidance, protection, the fact that it is a self-illuminating body. It doesn't rely like the moon reflects the light of the sun. It doesn't require on anybody else's light being reflected. It is a self-illuminating body. And that is what you are. You not only are self-illuminating, but you're light igniting in others. If you'll pardon my bad English.
Thank you
But
so much.
I just think, Tracy, that is such an extraordinary and rare gift, to be able to light that, to spark that transformation in others and guide them through it. So it's really something to celebrate. And then the diamond, a natural diamond, is kind of the perfect analogy for the human soul. It starts off as a piece of carbon, and through extreme pressure being exerted upon it over millennia, it becomes the most able and the purest refractor of light.
This is so beautiful.
And then just on the back, there's the North Star, the Polaris, which is a powerful symbol of guidance and direction. And then more diamonds at the cardinal points and your birthstone, an emerald in the center.
So this is the type of work that you do. I love this so much, by the way. And the first time you showed this to me, which did not record because we were having issues during Mercury retrograde, I was literally sobbing because it is like the perfect representation of me. And it's interesting too that you've captured like all these symbols that actually mean something to me without me even knowing it, because snakes have been, I can't find them right now and I'm hoping that they turn up, but I had these two snake rings that I would wear every day. One from my friend Jennifer Dawes and one from that I replicated from an Indian ring that I had. And snakes are a really powerful symbol because as we grow, right, we grow out of the old skin that we
Yeah,
used to have. And so it's part of our unbecoming process, right? We have to shed the old version of
yeah,
ourselves in order to step into this bigger growth oriented
yeah,
person. I mean, a lot of people don't like snakes, but they are a really powerful symbol of that because the
yeah,
more
absolutely.
that they, the more that they expand, the more that they have to shed and the more growth they have
Yeah.
in their in everything. And of course the hummingbirds and the symbol of my mom and all of that is
Mm.
means so much, and everything that you've said. So this is a process that Shirley does with her clients. And obviously, if you are interested in working with Shirley on one of these pieces, I'd love to invite you to check out the show notes because they are quite beautiful and they're so meaningful. And just the thought that she puts into her work is really powerful. And I know that this is going to be something, I know that this is going to be something that takes your business literally to the next level on top of having the airport stores, which we're calling in. We're manifesting that.
Yeah. So these are talismans, they personal amulets and talismans, and each one it's a collaborative process with the client, and each one would be personal to them. So there won't be any two alike unless you specifically ask for two alike. Mm.
It's really beautiful. So thank you for this. And I'm just so excited and honored that you designed this for me. It's just so beautiful. So I'm going to take a little bit of a pivot. So is there anything that you want to add about if anyone wants to reach out to you to have one of these talismans made for themselves?
It's such an amazing process. Even if you just want to have a chat about it and see if it's a good fit for you, probably the best way to get hold of me is my contact details on Instagram.
Larkan.
So
it's
Larkan
at Larkan Bespoke. Yes.
Yeah, and at Larkan.
You need to start posting some of these talismans on your.
I've got one or two. Can I post yours?
Yes.
Okay.
It was so amazing. So, Shirley, I want to take a little bit of a pivot here. You have talked a lot about the Art of Reinvention program. What did you think was your biggest transformation during the 12 weeks that we worked together in the program? I mean, you continued to work with me in my Aligned and Amplified Mastermind.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest shifts for me, I mean, there's so much. It's a difficult question to answer quickly, but one of the biggest shifts for me was talking about how to package our offering to a client and how to take it from transactional to transformational. And it just changed my thinking about my business. It was all part of that, really getting excited about my business again and wanting to go out and talk to people about it, because not that I've ever just tried to sell for the sake of selling, I'm not built that way, but it really helped me to just go out and put myself out there.
And maybe put words to what you were actually doing.
Definitely. Yeah.
So,
as I said earlier, it really helped me to crystallize that offer.
I'm so excited for you and everything that's to come. One more question, and then we're going to wrap this up. What would you say to someone who has been thinking about the Art of Reinvention, or who is in a season of feeling a little stuck, or maybe misaligned with their business, or wanting to step into something new?
I would say that it is the best investment you can make in yourself. It will translate into an investment for your business. There's no question. Run, sign up now. If anybody wants to talk to me about it, I'm happy to do that as well. But honestly, Tracy, it was the most extraordinary experience. And I thank you so much for it, because it has fundamentally changed me for the better. And honestly, I cannot recommend it enough. There's no question. Just do it. Just work with you, have these experiences, deal with all the wonderful guests that you bring on as well. It will only do good things for you personally, and for the person personally, and for their business.
Thank you, Shirley.
Okay. Thank you, Tracy.
Where can everyone find you?
So I think the best thing to do is to go and look for me on Instagram. All my contact details is there. So I do have a website, www.larkanbespoke.com, or Larkan Bespoke on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for being here, Shirley.
Thank you.